Divorce happens. In fact, it happens to almost 50% of first marriages. So let's talk about it. Welcome to Divorce Happens, a podcast to educate, inspire, support, and yes, make you laugh through divorce and beyond so that you can start fresh on the next phase of your journey. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh.
You get divorced. You get divorced.
Getting divorced?
I'm getting a divorce.
You're getting a divorce.
Because she's getting a divorce.
So what if I get divorced?
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Divorce Happens, the show where we support you before, during, and after divorce with education, inspiration, and a little bit of laughter because, as you know, divorce happens and then you start fresh. And we are here with Dr. Lyons, who I'm mildly obsessed with for many reasons. She was on A Fresh Story. We talked about her beautiful book, Rewrite the Mother Code, which I love. But she's actually here today to talk about a topic that I've never gone through this facet of divorce. My youngest was, he was 2.5, almost 3 when I got separated. So he was young. But there is a growing number of women who are realizing that maybe their relationships are not what they thought they were while they're pregnant or in postpartum.
Yeah.
And there is a huge taboo around getting divorced while you're pregnant. And it's unheard of almost, right?
Mhm.
And then people want to know everything. So I'm really happy you're back. I want to have you introduce
so happy
yourself.
to be back.
Yay!
Thank you. Olivia, this
I could
is
literally
such a treat.
talk to you forever. So I want to have you introduce yourself. We're going to obviously talk about the book, but then I want to talk about your work with mothers and all the good stuff. So who are you,
Sure.
Dr. Lyons?
Oh, who am I? Oh my God, that's such a, big question. Anyway, in my work, I'm an author, speaker, life coach, podcast host, retreat facilitator. But mostly I feel like I am, living my mission, living my life that then has evolved into my mission, which is to support women, mothers in this threshold, in this, and really having it become an experience that they take ownership of and create and live in a fulfilled and meaningful way.
Yeah. Yeah.
More
And I
to
think
say,
that's,
but yeah,
yeah,
we'll
well, I was
summarize.
going to say that's really the thesis of Rewrite the Mother Code for me, is that it's really important to buck tradition and the narratives to figure out what works for you as a woman, as a feminine energy, and a mother. And I think that there's a lot of women who are in relationships, and I know because I talk to a lot of them, and they're so afraid to embark on this change while they are in a time of change, because
Yeah.
that's a lot of shit to wade through. So,
Yes.
so let's dig into this.
Let's just start there.
Have you worked with women who, in this postpartum phase that start to
Mhm.
rethink their relationship?
Yeah, absolutely. And in every phase, like in the midst of it, they've gotten clear, like it's almost like the pregnancy, the new motherhood, like confirmed where they had been leading. It was never an out of the blue, like, oh, everything was great. And then I got pregnant. Now I want to divorce my husband, my partner. It isn't that. It's just something, flips for them and that clarity comes to them at that time. Right.
Yep.
So, if we speak about just that time and then, what I get to then hopefully, bring to the forefront or support them in is one, just what you said, right? Like you're going to be up against it. Like culture, your family, there are going to be plenty of people say, oh my God, like what? You're just not in your right mind, or this is all hormone related. I've heard everything, right, about why this isn't okay. And I understand it from a protective standpoint. It's a vulnerable time. But in a patriarchal culture, of course, like you need, well, in a heterosexual marriage, the
Yeah.
man there, you need that partner. Like, oh, we're so fragile. So it's unwinding all of that culturally and, in family where divorce at any time may have a lot of taboo,
Yeah.
around it. So, one, just exploring, looking at what those are, and then preparing them like this is like now a double threshold, right? I often tell women, even, when divorce isn't even in the picture, that yes, you're giving birth to a child, but you're also giving birth to a you, right? Like you're in a mutual birthing here. And so at divorce, that adds to the layer of it, right? Like these are these really big precipice threshold moments where you're stepping from one place that you've been operating into a whole new one, right? And
Yeah.
um it's like we have so many taboos about like how much support we need as a new mom, but then add the support, and then or as a divorced person, or a mom, but then put the two together, and we need like double, triple anything that we thought we did in
Yeah.
lots of different realms of support. And I think that's one of the biggest things that also comes up is how, let's get you well supported, through this, because it doesn't have to be just this horrible thing we go through. It actually, and I said this to you before we started the show. Sorry if I'm just putting it
No, I
all
love
out
it.
there, but
Yeah.
um, that the potential, of this double whammy, so to speak, the double threshold is, this is the ripest time for growth and transformation. We're raw, we're open, we're like we can't even help ourselves but to be hormonally and then emotionally, psychologically, even, spiritually with what we have chosen to put ourselves in. It's, it's an initiate. If we see it more as an initiation or a window into, possibilities for ourselves, that's the silver lining and the treasure that we can find it, when we're supported and when we're oriented that way. Okay, I'll stop.
First of all, I don't it's bringing tears to my eyes just to listen to you.
Mm,
So we need to put you on a stage somewhere in front of a lot of women.
oh,
But
thank you.
you every time I talk to you, you blow my mind with ideas and I don't even know where to begin. So before we jump into that, I would just like
Okay.
to say that your concept of the double threshold actually brings up another concept for me, which is that your book, Rewrite the Mother Code, is not just for mothers, right, who have
Mhm.
human children in
Right.
whatever capacity, however they have them. It's for anybody that births anything. And I just posted yesterday online and I said something like, is it finally time to have the conversation about how many husbands sabotage their wives' careers and
Oh my
successes,
gosh.
right? And that went viral because
Ugh,
people had so many stories. And so, as you're
yes.
saying the double threshold, I'm thinking, well, that doesn't just apply to the threshold of a human child. That could be a new career, a graduation, new job, all these things. So,
Mhm.
we're really talking about this support that you can give to people. Yes, we're going to obviously talk about pregnancy and postpartum, but
Mm,
this is for women who are ready to really transform their life in so many capacities and may be looking next to them at their or back at the partner and thinking, this is not what I
mm,
thought it was going to be. Um, so I guess one of my questions for you, doctor, is when we see, whether it's on social media or celebrities, when we see a
mm.
pregnant woman decide to separate, it is shocking for people, right? They are like
Yeah.
blown away. Why do you think that that is so odd
Mm.
for people to see?
Well, a couple things come to mind, Olivia. One is just the thousands of years of patriarchal wiring and culture that, you know, of the dynamic of women needing a man, um, of this is, she's living, her duty isn't just to procreate and have children like as her purpose on earth. It's to also tend to and take care of a man, specifically, really. And so to see that, like, even as advanced as we are, there's these tingles of what, we can even be fairly open, we don't even have to be way on one side of like, oh, well, that's a crime, or immoral
Yeah.
or whatever, to, ooh, I'm uncomfortable seeing that,
Mm,
and uh, it, it's to have an awareness that I mean, there's evolution, sure, but there have been also times in history where, when it's egalitarian and women know that they can stand in their sovereignty and their power, and if they lose a spouse, there's a community around them. Like they're not alone, right? But in our
mhm.
culture, it's like, oh my God, that woman's going to be alone. Like, who's going
Yeah.
to take care of her,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but oh God, I just heard something recently where, and I can't remember. It's like if it's a current culture that's not Western or whatever,
Yep.
or was in the past. It's a woman could expect to have a minimum of 17 people surrounding her and interacting with her that were caregivers for this child, right? Like she
Wow.
was not alone,
Yeah.
but we are so in this current paradigm and cultural construct where it's like we fear for that woman. We have judgments that she's being selfish or crazy or,
Mhm.
like she's just lost it. Like there's no logical reason to do that. And that's, I guess, the key, logical, right?
Right. Right. Right.
As opposed to, oh my God, thank God she figured that out now. Or wow,
Right.
let's jump in there and I can't wait to support this woman. She clearly did something that in our culture is brave and courageous
Right.
and, um, like, we gotta rally behind her, right?
Yeah.
So that's what comes
Yeah.
up for that's what I
Yeah.
see is what happens.
No, I agree with you, and I think what an interesting reframe if we started doing that, right? So talk us through the double threshold here of becoming a new mother and going through a transition in your relationship. And let's be honest, all relationships are going to go through transitions, right? When you
Yes.
talk about this in your book, how you and your husband
Yeah.
had to kind of be on the same team, but you were barely team members, right?
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
and so, first of all, does this, how do I want to word this? Like, I feel
Mm.
like this has to happen, right? Your relationship has to change in some capacity because you're
Mhm.
bringing new life into the world and you are going through this incredible
Yeah.
new becoming. So, where can we figure out how can we work with somebody to be a postpartum woman and think,
Mm.
is this really of time that I want to end my relationship? Or am I going through this stuff? Like you've worked with so many women. I don't know.
Mhm.
I don't even know what I'm asking really, but like
Well,
where do we
I can
begin there?
yeah, I can tell you a few things that come up. Like, as you know, in the book, one of the ways that I, support women kind of with a framework to um, rewrite their mother code, which is to claim a mother code for themselves, right? So, it, call it a vision for yourself, but it's a place where with some level of going inside and self realization, actualization, you've gotten clearer around, what are my values? What are my deeper desires? And those are, you know, can that can be anything from, I deeply one of my values is learning and growing. It's transformation, or I value or desire being present in the moment or consciousness, right? Like so I'm using those as my guide um, versus the do's and the don'ts or the this or the that. So it's kind of like I need those really in the forefront for me in my backpack toolkit, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
in any create, as you said earlier, and alluded to these creative endeavors that are going to include change and pain and a process. And then there's looking at it through the lens of family systems or just, internal systems that are going to shift and change. And that work is so valuable, I think, at this time. In divorce or not, bringing a child into the system changes the system. We've just added an element to
Yeah.
it that wasn't there before, right?
Yeah.
And
A very
that
loud one. Yeah.
a very loud one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so if, I don't have that code within myself, those and learning to practice, and this isn't about getting that and then doing that perfectly, right? As we've talked about, Olivia, this is like, ooh, I have an anchor, I have a rudder, I have, something that can at least guide
Right.
me, into what is this new system? What am I up against? What are some of my really deeply wired in mistaken beliefs about myself that I'm going to confront in any of these scenarios, right? Because,
Yeah.
you're now, you're shifting what was just maybe a role of wife, and in a dyad system,
Yep.
wife, husband, or wife, partner. And then we get pregnant, and now we are adding a third element to the system. But now I have a new identity, mother, a role. Like, what is that in the system?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
then I decide I really don't have the support, for all the
Mhm.
reasons that might come to bear of like, no, I need to make this decision now. Down the line is it's not, this needs to happen for me now. Now I have the divorced woman's identity and role, right? So, it is juggling a lot, but sometimes just naming those, having awareness that
Yeah.
this is what's happening, and systems are powerful um dynamics that, you know, we revert. We maybe have done a lot of like work, but you throw ourselves into this new raw system, and it's like it's like we never grew before. It's like
Yeah.
it all went out. Where'd it go? Like I had all these tools that I was doing pretty well with, and it's like they're gone, but they're not gone. We just need to reorient to them in this new atmosphere, this new system.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that so much. As I was reading your book, and I actually might have you come back on to talk about this topic in full,
Happy to.
is that what kind of blew my mind about your book is that you talk about when you become a mother, you have to reorient all of these values and these systems in your and rewrite your mother code for yourself.
Hmm.
And I had this aha moment where I thought, "Oh, and I did this again as a single mother. As I
Mm.
birthed into single motherhood, I had to rewrite that entire system," which gives me chills to think about because it
Yeah.
was so I don't know, just like spiritual for me in that moment to realize this because I
Mhm.
could see the difference in my motherhood. And I think we go through this motherhood all the time, not just divorce, right? But when your
Sure.
kids become a teenager, you have to reorient, right? And all of these things. But I think that's the beauty of your book is that it gives
Mm.
that permission to rewrite the mother code whenever you need to rewrite that
Yeah,
code. So,
exactly.
my question for you before we go today, I have a few questions.
Hmm.
If somebody is kind of struggling, right? And they're going through this like I'm postpartum, I'm trying to figure out what my relationship means to me, is this worth it? What can they do to start kind of mothering themselves through
Yeah.
this to be as gentle as they could?
No, that's such a beautiful and important question, Olivia, because at all these stages and phases, it does come back to like most most important person I need to mother here is myself.
Yeah.
In the best of situations and the most challenging, right? Like, and so I think in those tender moments, we already talked about like getting our toe in the water and starting to bring awareness to what it is we value or what it is we desire. But I think particularly at those times, then it's adding in. Then it's like, okay, I think I have an idea about this was, and then um, I have, okay, well, what now? And like, what am
Right.
I going to be up against? It's the making a pact with yourself, and that pact. I'm smiling because it's like, really happy to come up with this acrostic again.
Mhm.
But pact being, patience, oh, okay, I need to have some patience with myself in this process. And I'm learning and growing. I don't, this is I'm in new territory. I am my own little newborn, in
Yeah.
so many ways. So just like, giving myself some patience, affirmation, like you're going to have plenty of criticism outside,
Yeah.
inside, like, oh, I'm really fucking this up. Am I going to fuck
Yeah.
everything up?
Yeah.
And, I don't know. Sorry, I didn't even
No, you're good.
it's
We
okay to
curse all the
swear.
time. Yeah.
Okay. But that giving yourself that affirmation that you might,
Right.
so often give others, right?
Right.
Compassion, heaping the compassion
Yeah.
on, yourself. And it's like, this is hard. In the best of circumstances,
Yeah.
new motherhood is hard,
Yeah.
right? Like you're in a paradigm that is written right now so messed up that you're like, what
Yeah.
is real? What is reality? Okay.
Yeah.
And T is trust,
Mm,
trusting your intuition. I circle back to intuition with that particularly, like trusting that wise
yeah.
sense, this inner knowing that we all have, but maybe hasn't been, loud enough. Um, but just to take a little bit of time to tune in to
Yeah.
her.
Yeah. I love that. Patience, affirmations, compassion, and trust. That is,
Yep.
I think, a pact that we can carry with us for everything that we do. I love that.
Everything,
I love
right?
that.
Yeah.
So if somebody's listening to this episode and they are in that spot and they're considering divorce or considering breaking up, what would be some words of encouragement that you could leave them with today?
Hmm. So many things. Come up. It's when you said that, it's just like it's not a. It was like what I pictured was just hugging them and holding them tight. And so I think from that, the encouragement is don't be afraid to ask for just getting your own mothering from outside. Like let people mother you, let yourself just be held at times where you don't have to figure anything out. You just can be with whatever feelings are there. Nothing has to make sense. There's so much you're going to have to do and figure out and strategize around and all that. But if you can give yourself some moments of I just going to be with what's here right now and give myself some moments. And ideally, not ideally, we can give that to ourselves, but also invite in support
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So rewrite the mother code is it's from sacrifice to stardust, a cosmic approach to motherhood, which is gorgeous. It is a
Mhm.
fantastic book. I am almost done with it and I have reread many pages over and over again.
Mm.
So
Means so
definitely
much to me, Olivia.
must
Thank you.
have.
Thank
Of course,
you.
we're going to have you come back on to talk about
Sure.
rebirthing yourself as a single mom because I think that that's a really important topic. Among
Yeah.
other things, we'll have you back on for because I love talking to you.
I
But
will
please
be here
go.
anytime.
Oh, good. Please go pick up Rewrite the Mother Code. I'll have the link in the show notes. Dr. Lyons, as always, you are brilliant and wonderful and cosmic in your own way. And
Uh,
we love chatting with you.
Thank you. Thanks, Olivia.
Divorce Happens is produced by Fresh Starts Registry, the only divorce registry platform for everything you need to begin again, including home items, hype team, and everything in between. Remember, divorce happens, and then we start fresh. We're here to support you before, during, and after divorce. Head to freshstartsregistry.com for more info.